Steve Aronson, you can read about him on page 18, but in addition to working in an IB school with his wife and family, being a TOK teacher, a member of the regional council, it's his passion that is helping to change the education system in Costa Rica, that he has been the driving force behind the addition of 20 IB schools in the public school sector in the country. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Steve up to the podium. Thanks so much, Steve.
Well, I've lived in Latin America since 1973, so one could say that I've made my life there. I think that 5 children and 11 grandchildren qualify sufficient roots. There's one thing that business leaders and politicians and intellectuals in Latin American countries agree upon. It is that education is the key to prosperity and social peace, if not social justice. So, every time there's a new election and a new administration, the new Minister of Education implements, or at least promises to implement, new, improved programs in the public school system. Meanwhile, the same business leaders, politicians, and intellectuals, and even the minister, send their children to private schools where they can benefit from an IB education. I've taught TOK for the past 10 years, and as you all know, TOK is not philosophy. But we TOK teachers are always sneaking in some philosophical concepts. Occam's razor is named after a 14th century Englishman. Although Aquinas and Maimonides and Aristotle and my son Philippe have stated this simple principle: when there's several competing explanations or courses of action, choose the simplest one. So as I thought about the IB access agenda, it appeared that there was sufficient evidence to support the implementation of the IB in public schools in Latin America. But don't think that I just relied on hearsay or the opinion of others. That's not strong enough to qualify as knowledge. I had several other bits of evidence. 2 of my own children passed the IB diploma. I watched the process up close and personal, and I saw how the IB transformed them despite their suffering. My wife, who's head of the European school in Costa Rica, believed so completely in the IB that she made it the only diploma track that students can follow. Although it's a private school, the student body represents a broad cross-section of Costa Rican society. This year is the 14th consecutive year that 100% of the graduating class received the IB diploma. Ralph Klein, who was then at the IBNA, encouraged me to visit Tampa, Florida. I spent several days observing the success of the IB program and the access agenda in several Tampa inner-city public schools. And I learned there was a magic number, 25%, which appears to be universal law. 25% of the 10th graders in public schools are ready to take on what an ex-student of mine called the antidote to bulimic education. But these 25% are those who have the ability and desire. All they need is the opportunity. But it's not only about the 2 students. The same phenomenon takes place in the faculty. While some teachers, maybe the majority, balk at the idea of more work and bigger challenges and the loss of control that IB assessment invariably entails, there's a group that welcomes the opportunity to really teach and learn. Armed with evidence and conviction, I spoke with Costa Rica's veteran IB head, Liliana Lloyd, co-founder of the British School, and together we formed Asobi Tico, the Costa Rican association with the then 5 private IB World Schools. From the beginning, the goal of Asobi Tico was to introduce the IB to 20 public schools distributed around the country. The ministry was skeptical and jealous. After all, they hadn't invented the idea. But we went ahead anyway. We figured that there were schools and communities that would welcome the opportunity, so we worked bottom up. We held the school's hands during the 2 or 3 year authorization process. We assured the training of the teachers in workshops and helped the schools with the necessary infrastructure changes. Key to this process was the direct participation of experienced private school educators and administrators, especially Liliana. As a school became authorized, it automatically becomes a member of Asobi Tico, and the head and the IB coordinator actively participate in our activities. But Asobi Tico had and has 2 other important concepts on its agenda. First, we aim to create an IB community which closes the gap between public and private education. To achieve this, we sponsor activities that include students from public and private schools, things like intertalks. We promote informal working sessions for teachers who then support each other. And we aim to create an exportable model that can be implemented in other countries. We now have 6 years under our belt, 8 authorized public schools, 4 in the process. Our schools have over a 90% pass rate on the diploma, and one of our schools in a coffee-growing region had a 100% pass rate for 37 students. Sons and daughters of coffee pickers, lawyers, pharmacists, bus drivers, farmers, and single mothers. That was the tipping point. The minister came to the graduation and told everyone how proud he was that the Ministry of Education's program was such a success. Drew also came, which made the minister feel even more important and successful. Magically, the bureaucratic issues that are inevitable in a state organization virtually evaporated, and the ministry signed a 7-year agreement with Asobi Tico supporting the IB program. One caveat, however, we had to find the finance for the preparation and authorization process. A local foundation gave Asobi Tico matching funds, and local businesses supported the program. It wasn't easy, but we spent a good deal of time and effort on all sorts of PR. But here's the real key: success. Everybody wants to be part of a winning team. We do our best to guarantee success. So now I'll tell you our 2 secrets. First and foremost, we have a team which includes our executive director, Daniel Samper, and 2 IB grads, Alejandra and Nacho. As I said earlier, we have many other team members, which include teachers, heads, and IB grads from private schools. Secondly, we use another very important principle: checklists. We're completely focused on success, which means that we only adopt schools that meet our criteria for success. Our checklist is very simple. We look for, first, a committed head who's an independent leader. Second, a faculty that is local and has at least one teacher who understands the sacrifices and challenges of the position of IB coordinator. Third, support from the local community. And fourth, geographic diversity. So when a school approaches Asobi Tico for information about the IB, Daniel invites the head, teachers, and community representatives to the Asobi Tico office for what he calls una visita de desencanto, which means a dissuasion meeting. We do not even begin to consider a school until they've overcome the shock and come back for more. Only then will we start the process of visiting the school and coaching and financing them during the authorization process. And even then, there are no guarantees. We've pulled the plug on schools and even suggested changes in IB coordinators in mid-authorization. Fortunately, the ministry has been cooperative or at least benignly supportive of this process. So today, I'm being honored with the Director's Award. Thank you, Drew. But this award really belongs to all the people who made our project a reality. And our work is nowhere near complete. We still need to perfect the model by strengthening the ties between the IB and universities. We have to have the support of publishing houses to create learning materials in Spanish, and Oxford has just contacted us, and it seems like they're ready to study that idea to create learning materials in Spanish. In our initial talk with them, they said 5 years ago that there wasn't any market for ID materials in Spanish. That's changed. Access to the IB in public schools in Latin America is a win-win, and hopefully our model can be implemented in other countries. We're ready to share our experiences and help in any way. Feel free to approach Danielle or Nacho, Liliana, or myself with any questions or concerns. Thank you, IB, and happy 45th birthday.
Before Paul comes back, or before I pass the microphone over, I just wanted to again thank Steve for all the work that he's done. He's really quite humble about the impact that he's had on the IB and the students in Costa Rica. But more importantly, Steve and I have worked together for, probably almost all of the 5 years that I've been with the IB, and he's been a critical friend. He's pushed us to do our jobs better, to serve and support the schools in Latin America better, to serve and support the schools across the region. So again, thank you for being a friend over the last 5 years and for all the work that you've done. Thank you, Steve.